Today we're going to be starting a basement finishing project. We're going to be building 2 offices in an unfinished basement. And some of the design criteria that we had was 2 10 by 10 offices, good lighting, warm floors. They also needed to be soundproof because 2 people would be working in the offices side by side and on calls. So they needed to be good and soundproof, and they needed to be functional overall. This will be a fairly simple build overall. We'll be using foam, 2-inch foam insulation, which is R10 on the walls, and just regular lumber with treated bottom sills. If you haven't been to the lumber yard lately, this is from Home Depot, some of the stuff is pretty rough, especially for the prices they're asking. So let's go on a quick tour of the project and I'll show you what we got going. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, now would be the time to do it. It's free and you'll never miss an episode. These walls were dry locked with Drylock Extreme with 2 coats. And for the foam board, I'm not gluing it, I'm just sandwiching it behind the studs. That seems to work pretty well. And what I've been doing is just putting a spacer in between the studs and the foam board and just shooting a little foam in there, and it holds the foam to the wall really well. And we're using 24-inch on center spacing. There's really no reason for me to go with a 16-inch on center. It saves lumber, saves time, and this is a 2-inch foam. I'm not planning on using any fiberglass because of moisture, so I'll be using Dense Rock, I think it's called, for the wall board. For the wall that goes in between the 2 offices, going to do a double wall, and it'll sandwich that post and run up to this beam. So we'll do a dual 2x4 wall. One wall will probably have insulation in it because these offices need to be soundproof from each other because my wife and I will both be working down here, and so we definitely need to have some quiet. I'm probably going to use exterior doors on the office doors. My air nailer is on another job site at the duplex right now, so I'm nailing everything by hand, and you really don't need a ton of power tools to do this. A saw, a hammer, and some nails. It's not terribly difficult. You can still use the old methods. They still work. And now my assistant Norm Abram Jr. will help me stand up the wall here. And as you can see, we're just going to sandwich the foam in between the block wall and the studs, and we don't need to use any glue, and it'll leave an air pocket for any moisture that gets in there to be able to dry out the top because the top will be unsealed. So that's how I decided to do it, and the studs are actually going to be off of the foam board by about maybe 1/4 of an inch, so any moisture that would accumulate on the foam would not soak into the wood. And here you can see everything sealed up nice and tight. So my youngest son and I are going to wrap up the framing, and we're going to start framing up the interior walls. But before that, we're going to bring the wall board into the offices so we don't have to try and fish it through the walls. And I'll see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this kind of content or you'd like to watch this project, please consider liking and subscribing. And as always, thank you for watching. Plastic under the slab, I do know that, and then it also has an epoxy coating, so the treated plate isn't sitting directly on dry concrete that's going to suck the moisture out of it.